How's it going, Star Seekers? My name's Cake and welcome back to another deals video for this second week in September, where I bring you 5 games under £1 $euro and answer that all important question, are they worth £1? So I'm not gonna lie, this week's been a little light on the all region deals. We've had some big sales on Forever Entertainment's games, but unfortunately these have been in the UK and EU only. And several of our games today come from Polish publisher Cubic Games, so let's dive on in and see what might be worth a buy. First up, we have a game called Suicide Guy Sleeping Deeply, a first-person puzzle platformer where you play as a rather dishevelled looking alcoholic who downs a bottle of extra strong special brew and falls into a deep slumber which he's unable to wake from. And so he finds himself trapped in a series of surreal dream sequences, and the only way to end them is to end himself by committing suicide. Now, as depressing as this subject matter might be, the game aims to make light of it with its cartoony visuals and ludicrous scenarios. For instance, the first scenario sees you face to face with a giant sea creature whose eye has fallen out of its head. As it sits there throwing a bit of a paddy, you have to work how to get that eye back into its head and then piss the creature off. Now, the game's controls are relatively simple. You move and look around with the analog sticks, jump with the B button, interact with objects with Y, and can pick up and move some objects with A. So I got to rolling this eye across the floor onto a marked spot so that I could then use a crane to transport the eye into a catapult and launch said eyeball back into the sea creature's open socket. Following its eye replacement, the creature looked on at me lovingly, and it took me a while to work out what to do next. So after much deliberation, I did the only thing left to do, and that was to load up a big rock into the catapult and launch it at the creature, which indeed pissed it off. And then all I had to do to finish the level was to walk close to it and let it splatter me with a giant tentacle. Following this introductory level, you awaken an empty diner, and after hoovering up countless burgers and hot dogs strewn about the place, I proceeded to the next level, indicated by a car next to a number 1 on one of the diner's tables. This took me to the game's second level, a barren looking desert, where I once again had to puzzle out how to kill myself. Now, upon reaching the game's second level, which features a room containing a huge marble chain reaction, at the end of which lies a shotgun waiting to take our lives, the real issues with Suicide Guy begin to show. The movement controls in the game are pretty sensitive, and our fat lad's jumping really isn't up to scratch. Coupled with the game's constant frame rate issues, this made the second level a bit of a nightmare, as you have to move quickly through the whole level and are given no leeway whatsoever. Any delays or wrong moves means you won't make the shotgun in time and have to restart the level all over again. Now, I did eventually manage to complete the level and moved on to the third level, set in a canyon containing a giant stick of dynamite which is missing a detonator. Here you find blueprints which airdrop in various gadgets for you to use, but again the platforming is a pain and the frame rate is just as bad, so I stopped playing at this point. Now, Suicide Guy has some great ideas going on and it could be pretty fun, but sadly it doesn't run well on the Switch, which just leads to frustration. So unfortunately I'm gonna have to give this one a thumbs down and say save your quid on this one. The game's sale ends on the 18th of September in the US and the 30th of September in the UK and EU. Our next game is one that I've played before but didn't manage to get into first time round. Mana Spark is a roguelike twin-stick shooter featuring randomly generated levels and several different classes to choose from. Now, each game begins in your camp, which is slowly populated by the people that you find, and you begin with only one class, the Hunter, who has a relatively slow firing bow and a dodge roll manoeuvre to avoid incoming enemy attacks. But you soon find and unlock 2 additional classes, the Guard, who is armed with a crossbow and has a fast sidestep manoeuvre, and the Warrior class, who attacks at close range with a sword and has a shield which can also block attacks. So as is the case with most roguelike dungeon crawlers, gameplay involves you working your way through each floor, consisting of rooms filled with enemies. Now, there's some decent variety to them, though not as much as I've seen in other roguelikes, and they come in both melee and range varieties and include the usual cast of wild animals, skeletons and fantasy creatures. When killed, enemies occasionally drop food which can heal you, and 2 kinds of currency. The first are coins used within dungeons, and the second are encampment runes used in the camp to unlock new abilities and items. Now, after every couple of floors you end up in a peculiar room. Here your encampment runes are banked and you can spend any coins you've gathered to buy a power up. These cost only 1 coin to start with but increase in cost, and they provide many different passive effects which can increase your damage and health, or affect your attacks in different ways, such as making you fire multiple shots at once or poison enemies on hit. Now, once you hit the 5th floor you'll encounter the game's first boss, and the only boss I actually managed to get to. a giant beholder type enemy who fires energy blasts at you and spawns mini eyeballs, but he isn't too tough to defeat. Killing him rewards you with several runes and then you move on to the next dungeon floors. So I didn't get much further into the game than this, and as with my first outing of the game I didn't really enjoy it. I found that combat was too simple and slow and not that exciting, enemies took far too long to kill in most rooms, and power-ups didn't provide enough variety to your attacks. You do get a bunch of secondary abilities that you can use, like a net which slows enemies and a grenade which petrifies them, but again there's not much variety here either. Now when you die in the game you can choose to instantly restart a new game with a random class and power up, or head back to the camp to spend your runes on upgrading secondary weapons, unlocking food to increase your character's stats a little, or to weaken enemies reducing the HP or damage. Now I can see some people enjoying this one, there's some fun to be had, but the level of detail in both its visual and gameplay mechanics can't compare to the likes of Enter the Gungeon or Binding of Isaac. As to whether I think it's worth a quid, I'm gonna say yes despite me not really liking the game. Mana Spark's deal price ends on the 26th of September in the US and the 4th of October in the UK and EU. Moving on to game number 3, we have an arcade driving game where you speed around various neon-infused arenas and have to perform stunts to earn points. Rekt High Octane Stunts is a port of a mobile game, which is apparent right away by its plethora of unlocks and its in-game credit system. So you begin the game with a single car called Red Fury. The game contains a bunch of different cars you can unlock through gameplay, and you're able to customise their appearance a little and upgrade each car's stats by spending blue R coins. Now we also only start with a single arena and it costs 2000 R coins to unlock each of the game's 3 additional arenas, which is yet another trope left over from the mobile version's in-app purchase system. So we can head on into the arena by beginning a high score run. At the beginning of each run we get 3 challenges to complete, all of which are usually pretty easy. And completing a challenge awards R coins, which are multiplied by the number of challenges that you complete at once. For each high score run we start with 60 seconds on the clock, but performing tricks and collecting clock pickups scattered around the arena extends this time limit. Now controls in the game function very similar to Rocket League. We steer with our left thumbstick and manoeuvre our car in the air with the right thumbstick to perform spins and flips. Performing multiple stunts adds to our score multiplier, and we have to land on our wheels for this to count. We then get a short period of time to perform another trick and keep the chain going before our points are banked. Now if at any point we mess up and crash land our car, all unbanked points are lost. So it's a game of risk versus reward when you're trying to push your multiplier as high as possible. So we race around the arena, a flipping and a spinning, drifting and boosting until our timer runs out. After this we can collect our challenge rewards and are shown our stats for the run against our high scores for each of them. Our earned points also go towards filling a bar to unlock a new car, and the number of points required increases after each unlock. Now in addition to single player mode we can also play party mode, which supports up to 4-player local multiplayer, and this contains several different game modes including the standard score attack mode, a capture the crown mode where players have to hold the crown and avoid other players bumping into them to steal the crown, and virus mode where one player begins the game infected and has to infect the other players by bumping into them. So in general gameplay in Rekt wasn't bad, but nor was it anything to write home about, at least not in single player mode. But I can see it being a fun little party game to play with friends, and so I'm willing to give it a thumbs up and say it's worth a quid, providing you're patient enough to unlock all the extras the game has to offer. The sale on Rekt High Octane Stunts ends on the 21st of September in the US, and the 27th of September in the UK and EU. Our penultimate game this week is one that's likely to give your rageometer a bit of a tickle. Super One More Jump is a challenging single button platformer where you hop, skip and jump your way through gravity defying levels, whilst attempting to collect bonus pickups, reach the end goal and not die a million times in the process. So the game's a sort of combination of Super Meat Boy and Electronic Superjoy, and fans of these two games will likely find Super One More Jump to the taste. The game features a bunch of modes, the first of which is simply titled Levels, and this mode features 8 level sets of increasing difficulty, each containing 12 levels. Beginning with the most basic levels, which teaches us what's what, we start moving at the press of a button, tap any other button to jump, and the goal is to simply reach the exit door, and along the way we can snag free pickups. Now it is worth noting that you don't have to collect all 3 in one go, and can replay the level to collect any missed pickups. So jumping in the game functions in a number of different ways. If we jump off a ledge, we'll orbit around a central axis before landing on the other side of the ledge. and jumping onto any surface will start us moving along it. Levels become more complex the further we get in the game, and additional mechanics are also introduced to make things even more challenging. Now for each of the game's levels we also have several versions to complete, including mirror mode, which reverses the level's direction, night mode, which only allows us to see the surfaces near to us, and rotation mode, where the whole level slowly rotates, which surprisingly I found a little nauseating. Now the game features a number of different themes which can change up the visual appearance of levels, pickups and level features. We're able to switch between different themes at any time, and the pickups in levels act as in-game currency, allowing us to unlock different skins for our character. Now despite my sensitive rage trigger, I was actually quite proud of myself for reaching level set 4, where I had to give up before I exploded. After playing harder levels, I also found I had a much easier time when retrying earlier levels that I was originally unable to complete. So we can unlock several additional modes by completing a specific number of level mode stages. First we have Endless, which randomly generates as an endless level each time we play, and the aim is to earn a high score by surviving for as long as possible. Another of the game's high score modes is called Circuit, where the level is laid out in a square shape and sections of it are continually switched out as we work our way around the square. There's also a game mode called Vault and a mystery mode which I didn't actually manage to unlock. The final two modes are multiplayer modes. The first is a co-op mode for 1 to 4 players, where surfaces are colour coded and the player whose colour matches the surface is the only one who can make the character jump. The game's second multiplayer mode is 2-player endless mode, where each player gets 3 lives to get as far through randomly generated levels as they can, and the winner is whoever managed to get the furthest and earn the most points. So I thought Super One More Jump put a fantastic spin on the Super Meat Boy genre of games. It had some great gameplay mechanics, controls were solid, and the game's music was also pretty decent, and I would definitely say it's worth a quid to those of you who, unlike me, can handle the rage-inducing gameplay. Super One More Jump's sale price ends on the 24th of September in the US, and the 10th of October in the UK and EU. To finish this week's deals off, we have Space Pioneer, a top-down twin-stick shooter with RPG mechanics, which sees you travelling from planet to planet, completing objectives whilst attempting to rid the galaxy of an alien threat. Now this is another mobile to Switch port, but in my opinion it's one of the better ones. We play as this astronaut fella, and on each planet that we visit we have main mission objectives and 3 challenges we can complete in each mission. Mission objectives generally require us to head to specific locations and remain within an area whilst defending an objective from enemies, collecting some sort of goods or escorting scientist guys, and completing missions rewards XP, which unlocks new items, weapons and classes, each with their own set of abilities to unlock. Now challenges on the other hand are entirely optional. Each challenge earns us a star, which are required for achievements and completing certain tasks, which reward us with currency and equipment cards. Now whilst in-app purchases are gone from the game, mechanics related to them still remain in the form of the card system. Both cards and currency are required to upgrade equipment, skills and weapons, and random cards are contained within chests earned by completing tasks, which does entail a lot of grinding to get the cards that you need. I have to admit I started to struggle a bit towards the end of chapter 4 as I lacked the cards required to upgrade my health. Despite the grindy nature of the game though, I actually enjoyed playing Space Pioneer. There's some decent variety to planets and the biomes, which contain different types of monsters, and several bosses to face in each chapter who have unique attack patterns which change after they reach 50% health. Each level in the game can be played with up to 3 players locally, which I thought was a great addition, and after hitting level 4 you also unlock Versus mode, where up to 4 players can select the class and loadout before duking it out in deathmatch and last man standing modes. So when all said and done, I'm going to give Space Pioneer a thumbs up and say that it's worth a quid. I found gameplay to be enjoyable, though the grindy nature of the game may not be for everyone. The sale date on Space Pioneer ends on the 21st of September in the US and the 27th of September in the UK and EU. So that's it for another week's deals. Remember to subscribe for future deals and Switch content, hit that like button if this video helped you out, and let me know if you're going to be picking up any of these games in the comment section below. For now though, I just want to say thanks once again for watching, and until next time, game on.